AITA for not attending my biological father's wedding on my mom's side. To cut a long story short, my mom, now deceased, had me after she was raped by her now ex-stepdad, Jim. My bio-father, Gabe, didn't know that I existed until I was 37 years old. Prior to finding out about me, Gabe had been through 2 failed marriages, which helped stop him from making a basic connection of the boy who was raped, plus traumatized, now being abusive to his wife. They were horrible to each other, and each blamed the other, but it was a vicious cycle, and they both used me as a weapon to hurt each other. I found out about Gabe, tracked him down, and the relationship has been rocky for the past 3 years. He got all of the information that confirmed my identity very easily after I became a part of his life. I got my birth certificate, which only had one parent. Gabe's mom bailed my mom out of jail for loitering and took her in during the pregnancy, even making a cross-state move around the same time I was born. DNA testing, birth records with approximate addresses, timelines. He had records of where his mom lived, so on and so forth. And the weight of what happened to me and my mom was too much to bear, at least at first. But about a year ago, we had a heated debate. He told me he wished I didn't track him down because I brought all of the trauma of what happened to me and my mom to his doorstep. Mom specifically only mentioned I was his, long after his mom passed. He had been in multiple abusive relationships, nearly died overseas, and a boatload of PTSD diagnosed with the wounds, both emotional and physical, to prove it. On the other side, my relationship with my mom, my extended family, and friends isn't really great. My mom used me as an emotional support animal of sorts, violated a lot of boundaries, and otherwise was more like an abusive sister than a mom. My family covers for her. So, it gets a little bit more complicated, but the main gist is, Gabe cut off contact with me last year and did not re-establish contact until he found out about his oldest daughter from a recent marriage's trans, my mom passing, or a few other things. It was when his ex-wife called him drunk for whatever reason and spilled the beans about the 2 major things I didn't discuss in detail. And he's still married to that woman and raising her 2 kids, minus the oldest. As they go through their teens, I don't get along with the middle child, Gabe's stepdaughter, Melissa, really well. That's the main boogeyman I'm concerned with. I am almost certain she and I will have a blowout if I go. He can't be there, physically, so he and his wife will be hosts sort of remotely with team-building activities. The oldest can't make it. On his side, it's clear that the boys blended in with the men faster. But the women on his side blended in significantly faster with the women on her side of the family. If I'm the only guy there, especially if she finds out I don't know how to swim, it's a river wedding. Me and Melissa are going to get into a fight. I would prefer not to spend time with the men at all, for their benefit, since we can't have deep conversations, and the boys kinda get along with the guys. My other worry is that as fond as I am of Gabe, post-conflict, I am worried he will flake and disappear again, potentially for good if things go bad at the event. Next story. AITA for refusing to go to my mom's wedding. My mom got engaged a year ago to her boyfriend of 2 years. I, 16F, live with my divorced dad. Mom's fiancé Greg wants to be my stepdad types. He tries to give me too many advices, wants my opinion on everything, also wants to join in with my friends, not in a creepy way though, and so on. I hated him a lot initially, but now I don't mind him much because he looks after Kai, my 3-year-old brother, very well. But even while getting engaged, Greg done something stupid. He asked me to give my mom's ring to him so that the proposal could be a family event rather than leaving me out. So Greg, Mom and Kai went to a restaurant and Greg forgot the ring and called for help. It's weird because it's Mom's ring, but I went on. It was fun for Kai though. So now the wedding is coming, and I have no idea what, why, or how I have to do with all this, other than buying my dress. I have to pay for my own dress because they are struggling. It was going down quickly, so I started saving up. Yesterday Greg asked me, is my dress ready? I paid advance for it, but should be ready this week. Greg said I am included in a surprise event in wedding ceremony, and he said that it would need another dress, and gave instructions for what I have to wear and do. Not bride but a part. Told him I can't buy more dresses because I don't have money for that. He said he'll give me the money, but at the ceremony, but I need to pay first, then get the money. It's all too much, and I'm red alerting my stupid brain that this is going to cost me a lot. Dad saw me getting tensed, so consoled and talked to Greg yesterday night. Mom called me today morning and told me that what Dad done was an move, and Greg just wants to include us, but Greg made me doesn't want to anymore. She asked me not to come for the wedding if I can't wear the new dress and give dirty vibes around by raising my eyebrows when talking to Greg for the entire event on half a white dress. I told my mom calmly that I love her, and for that only, I am keeping up with Greg, but I can't do any more. So don't expect me for big days again, bye, and cut the call, but I cried for a good while. Now I don't know if I left things all right with Mom for future. I don't trust Greg to smooth things over again. Did I act like an What am I supposed to do for future? Next story. AITA for resenting my husband for forgetting to schedule movers. My husband and I were moving more than 1,500 miles, and we decided to drive by a city we wanted to check out on the way. The only thing I asked my husband to plan was the moving of our stuff. I took 2 months off of work to plan our entire move. The city we were moving to did not have any storage units available, so I had to work super hard to find us a safe place for our 2 cars and more than 1 storage unit at our actual destination. This was all happening during our busy times of our jobs, so we were each working 70+ hours a week leading up to this move. Important detail, I was driving my own car, so we had planned out a timeline of when I would leave and he would leave. 2 days before the movers were set to arrive, my husband texted me that he had forgotten to call the movers he had received a quote from. This meant we were going to have to drive with a moving truck, which meant that I was going to have to drive by myself for the first time in my life, because my husband would need to drive in the moving truck. When my husband forgot to call the movers and secure a spot, he created a rule, unbeknownst to me, that we each have 1 mistake that we forgive each other for during the move. I tried to argue with this new rule he created, but he got really upset about any argument for me making a big deal about his mistake, because he said it made him feel more stressed. His main point was how he has to move the stuff himself, and it is more work for him. I tried to protect myself from bringing up my mistake in the move, leaving some of our small boxes behind because they wouldn't fit, but during a fight we had during the move, I brought them up. Now my husband brings up at least once a week how I forgot those boxes behind, and justifies it with how I brought up his movers incident. When I need to talk to him about how much I hate driving by myself on highways, he just sits in silence. So now, I feel more and more resentment toward him, and want to call him an for leaving his wife to have to drive on highways for the first time in her life by herself, because he did not remember to call the movers ahead of time. Am I the Next story.